Hello, heroes. Thank you all for tuning in to episode number 36 of the Nexus podcast. I'm your host, Adam Eastwood, and this week we do not have David Troy with us. He is on his way to Ohio, but we do have a David replacement. We have Bullet Catcher. What's going on, Bullet Catcher?
Not much, just recovering from having inventory at my store 2 days ago.
And we have Blizzard Esport enthusiast. Hopefully he's Dr. Stacks and not Mr. Pax tonight, Ben Blazik.
Hey. It's good to be back with the crew, ready to stir up some trouble tonight.
Yes. And the amazing, now part of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Not really. Josh
wish.
Williams.
What is up, everybody? Yes, David is not with us, but I may be with him in person tomorrow, so I'm excited. Hopefully I get to hang out with him.
Yeah, we decided that he's allowed to see you because he's not going to BlizzCon, and then we can all say that we have all met somebody from the podcast within this past year.
Exactly, and I
Except
would
for
have
me,
met
but
all
I'm
of
just
them.
a guest.
One day, Bullet. One day. I was actually I was invited to Chicago this month, but
Chicago.
I couldn't go for
Chicago.
some kind of brew fest at the Brookfield Zoo, brew zoo thing.
Oh, that would have been... You would have met my wife, because I could have convinced her to go to the zoo.
Yeah, we went last year, and my guild doesn't. They do whatever they plan on doing every year, but this year just didn't work out. So Ben, in terms of gaming, what have you been up to?
Kind of the same as last week. Heroes and World of Warcraft PvP. Just really in the mood and mindset for a lot of PvP lately. Like I don't know, getting kind of back into my. I guess now that we've been talking about like Heroes stuff a little bit as far as doing stuff later as the game releases. I'm getting kind of somewhat back into my competitive mindset. So that might be like the competitive side of me coming out a little bit. But, you know, just doing a lot of that. And finally got a chance to play Gardens with you the other night. It was the first time I got the map to draw.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yep. Josh, what's your week been like?
I've mainly been playing Marvel Heroes 2015. So I was super excited for the Guardians of the Galaxy movie coming out, and they added more characters from the movie into the game, and so I've been playing a lot of Rocket Raccoon and Star-Lord. But that's basically all I've been playing. I played it right before I got on for this, but that's
All
it.
you've been playing?
Basically, yep.
No game.
I played Heroes last weekend and, did pretty awesome thanks to a certain thing they added. But we will talk about that later, probably.
And Bullet, how's your week been?
Like I said, where I work, we just hit inventories that took a lot of energy, but Wednesday I was playing with some people, and we did some achievements in WoW trying to get the Dungeon Master thing. And I've been playing some Hearthstone and Heroes, and I played a lot of Heroes today and did not get Gardens once, so I still have not gotten into that darn map.
Yeah, luckily we're going to kind of hold off a little bit before we really talk about Gardens, just because it's, like, elusive. I've only had it maybe 4 times at most, so it's been a little rough. Kind of stinky, honestly.
Luckily, I have played the one that we're talking about repeatedly today, so that helps a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. So for me, I have been playing a ton of Heroes over the past week. I think I've played almost every night for a couple hours. I think the patch kind of reinvigorated me. in terms of just straight up play. I was having a lot of fun, and we'll get into this in a little bit. I was having a lot of fun testing out artifacts and figuring out which artifacts work better than others, and it was kind of like it was just something new to kind of play around with. So that was exciting. I played a bunch of Tyrael. I played Illidan, Diablo. I'm trying to think who else I might have played for a little bit, but a little Nova, not too much though. And I'm really finding my groove in terms of warriors. Like, I think warrior might be my favorite type in the game at this point, which would not have been what I predicted from when I first started doing the podcast and when we first started talking about the game, because I really felt that, you know, the kind of the specialists and maybe even like an assassin would, because I play, I'm forgetting the classification now. You know, like Lucian and, you know, the marksman.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I can't even think what they actually call
AD carries?
AD carries, there you go.
You're welcome.
It's pretty bad when I'm forgetting the terms from the other game, or maybe that's what's supposed to happen. Who knows? So we're going to kind of get right into the news. And the biggest news is at China Joy, they had a sneak peek at the legendary brewmaster himself, Chen Stormstout. Now, if anyone knows anything about, you know, listening to the podcast, they know that that's who I've been kind of excited about this whole time. And now we even know what ability he's going to have. And he's basically a mix between a Windwalker monk and a brewmaster monk. You know, flying kicks, keg smashes, breathing of fire, and storm, earth, and fire. So, anybody else is excited?
Data mining, we've kind of had the names of all those moves for a while, and so I mean, it's nice finally getting to see something. But we've known he's coming. I mean, I know he's your guy. You're a monk, so I mean, I get it. He's just not. I'm glad to see more heroes getting ready. It's just I'm not as into him as you are, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. You know, we've had data mined information, but there's data mined information about like Cho'Gall. And,
a noob and all these other characters. They just the main thing about this is that they finally showed us stuff about it. Data mine is really nothing, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I feel
this is physically showing us, so that's great.
Mm-hmm. I feel like anytime they show us the abilities and actual gameplay, that means they're going to be the next one that they're going to release, which means last week of the month, I think we're seeing Chen Stormstout week. Ben, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with me? Can you agree with me, please? I think if we all push a collective effort, they might make it happen.
All right, so this once, I think I'm going to possibly agree with Adam.
Yes.
And we're going to anyways. Whatever.
So, China Joe actually, they actually had an interview with Matthew Cooper, who, what is he? Like a system designer for Heroes of the Storm. Some of the cool things that they went on was that there's going to be a guild system and a guild battle mode, and that got me pretty excited as well. Ben, what are your thoughts on those? I know you probably like them better than Chen, so.
That was, I mean, like, I thought Chen was unique and interesting to watch the video and all, but dude, those lines out of that whole thing got me the most excited, because we're now progressing farther and farther towards getting teams together and doing something progressively as like a team, stuff that we've talked about for months. So I'm definitely like super excited about that. I really want to see the implementations. I hope it's not wrapped too much around like a guild system like in World of Warcraft, and there's still like, just keep it basic, keep it simple and to the point. You put your rosters together, you can call it a guild, call it a clan, call it a team, whatever, it's gonna be the same thing, it doesn't matter. But keep it simple. I don't want to see like 1,000 different guild achievements and guild leveling system. Like, that's unnecessary in a game like this. We just need the rosters together, the ability to queue up together, track our stats together, and maybe like set some type of like preferences or something if we get to that point. So,
one other kind of thing that was pointed out during the interview and I guess the press conference as part of that is they're considering developing a PvE mode for Heroes of Storm, very much like Naxx for Hearthstone. Bullet, what do you think of that?
I mean, not everyone's into the big hardcore arena, so I like that they're going to give, I guess you could call the casual, something to do besides just get pounded by the people who are not currently in their rank tier at the moment. I also like seeing that they're planning on adding like 10v10 and 3v3, which is something slightly different. Because in the other games, I don't remember ever seeing a 10v10 battle. That would, I mean, it's probably going to slow a few computers down, but it's still going to be bigger battles. I think that'd be nice.
Ben, I saw you kind of shaking your head a bit there. Do you not like the idea of PvE in this?
No, just okay. So let me clarify this. I'm not an anti-PvE guy.
Right.
I love the new Hearthstone adventure Naxx Ramus. Naxx Ramus was my all-time favorite raid in World of Warcraft. The original 40-man version, like that was for the elite. Like, you know, you had to prove your rite of passage for that one. So I love that type of stuff in a game like this. I get it. They're trying to, you know, throw their own spin on the genre, and that's great. You know, I love Blizzard for that. I just don't feel like it really has a place in this type of game. This game is about PvP at its core. Don't fix what isn't broken.
Josh, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree with Ben there. I mean, this is a PvP type game. That's what all these games are. But I'm excited that they're trying different stuff in this phase of the game. Like I think I said that last week with the artifacts. I like that they're trying new stuff during the alpha to see what they can and what works and what doesn't work. That way, if it doesn't work, as we know, they'll just take it out. But if it was live, that'd be a completely different story. But, you know, like I said, I'm just glad they're trying new stuff, but I don't think it'll really fit too well into this kind of genre.
Yeah, I understand that if it isn't broke, don't fix it, but you'll never know if it'll work if you don't try.
And absolutely. And I mean, you know, in alpha, I do agree with the whole we should be trying things.
And even in beta, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole, you know, point of testing is to test. So I'm glad we're testing different things because whether or not that succeeds or fails, more ideas are going to stem from it just inside those think tank meetings and all that stuff. So by all means, test it. Me personally, at the core, I don't think it has a place here.
You know, it would be cool if they kind of did what they did with like they said, like Naxx Ramus for Hearthstone, is have some kind of cosmetic rewards. You know, it's like, hey, if you complete Naxx Ramus and Heroes of the Storm, you get like a tint for, you know, your characters. They all kind of get a Naxx Ramus tint or something like that. You know, I mean, that's pretty much all it's going to be. I think it just like Naxx Ramus, it's not going to have high replay value. Because once you beat it once, it's not going to be that difficult. It's not going to be like WoW where you're going to grind for gear and stuff like that. So if they keep it very simple, you know, you go in, you do it once, you're happy, I could see it being successul.
I want a Naxx map.
A Naxx map?
Dude, I'm obsessed with Naxx Ramus. Like, I've always loved it for years. I would love to see a Naxx map.
Yep, you have 4 quarters, and then you go up to the top for your final battle or something like that.
I do like this last little paragraph, too, how they're thinking about adding Minxton as a character, and also the special mounts for some people like Diablo and Stitches, the big models, to have their own special mount to start instead of just that small puny horse.
Yes, because they all look ridiculous. Let's be honest.
I have a theory. You know, Ben's talking about having Naxx in the game. What about 2 teams 5v5? See who can clear Naxx the fastest.
Like races.
I got one. Here we go.
Like you race to the end and take down Kel'Thuzad.
So the map is like split, right? And you have your quarters, and it goes like up, and it's 5v5, just like Josh said. And you got to clear Naxx. However, you can do little things on the side that opens up bridgeways in between the two, and you can spill over and kill them to kill their progress.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
So it's like a PvE PvP hybrid.
I'm gonna totally design it right now.
Do it.
Get on it.
Well, aren't they making a map creator? Couldn't you just do that yourself?
Oh, that's true.
Yes,
I forgot they are doing that.
I'm like going to do the layout like right now while we're talking.
Well, we're talking the layout, getting it done. You know, the other thing I think we've talked about, I don't think they've specifically said it, but there probably will be some 10v10 and 3v3 battlegrounds. I want to see what a 10v10 really looks like. I don't know.
Yes.
It kind of excites me. Like it's got to be a big battleground like Naxx Ramus.
The only thing that scares me is certain computers might have issues. But
Not
that's
really.
the risk you take playing any computer game anymore.
Very true.
We
very
can't
true.
halt, just like the consoles. We cannot halt progress for those who can't keep up with hardware.
My friend pointed out in the last video they showed, I think it might have been for Rhaegar, it was like an arena that they showed him in. I don't know if you guys caught that, but he has a feeling that might be like a map in the future because it's just an arena.
Oh,
I don't
kind
know
of
if you
like
guys ever thought
10
about
go
that.
in, one comes out.
He
kind of
basically-
like Smite. Have you ever done Smite where they have the arena? Basically, you just have minions going back and forth, but it's straight one lane, and it's actually a lot of fun. It's probably the best part about Smite. I would say
Kind of like ARAM in League.
similar but more fun.
Considering that, like, because we don't have to last hit and creep, I would think like we could just do a straight up arena where you just kill the other team. Like, there's no map objective or anything. You just straight up demolish the other team. I'd like to see a 3v3 like arena. As far as the 10v10, when you were saying a minute ago with Naxx, yes, perfect idea to do the Naxx with the 10v10.
Yep. And
Money.
then, like you said, a 3v3 that's just heads up, and you could literally just be like, okay, you're all max, set up your talents, and go. You know, who wins, whoever, quickest, One other cool thing I don't think they've mentioned before either, and it's not in the game, but they were talking about, someone asked about dual talents, and how they had a hero alternation system where you could actually change your hero in the middle of the game. I was like, that could be like an interesting map type, like not like a specific game mechanic, but one map that lets you choose and change, so that your enemies always have to be on their toes because they don't know exactly what heroes are coming after you. It's almost like a special edition map type of thing, like for a short period of time.
When I read that line, I'm like, that would be pushing it for me. It's like, I don't want to, I want to be going up against Diablo and doing good, and all of a sudden I'm being shot in the face by Nova, and it's the same person.
Mm-hmm.
It changes your game style in the middle, and it's hard to adapt on the fly like that for everybody, both the person switching and the person who got switched against.
Yep. And I just think it'd be a pretty cool, like, one map or one, like, they put it out for, like, 2 weeks of, hey, try this out and see what you guys think of it. Yeah, it just, I think, adds, like, some interesting things.
But if they did that, there'd probably be fires on the forums again.
Oh, man, fires on the forums, man. I don't know. I get a little tired of the crazy anger on the forums lately.
Well, I agree.
I never go there.
Yeah, well, I
I
keep
know.
up on the
That's-
forums because every now and then there is that kind of nugget, kind of a discussion topic we can kind of go around. I think, this leads perfectly into kind of the other news that just dropped today is the change to artifacts and talents. Most notably, the fact that artifacts are already gone after about a week of testing. Ben, you are super excited. Let's let everyone know exactly how happy you are that they're gone.
Okay, so I'm trying to break this down a little bit. I don't know if it's necessarily so much as happy. There's some excitement there. I find it hilarious and ironic because we literally had an ongoing debate about this for 20 minutes last week. And, some people you were for it, a lot of us were against it, and we were completely slamming it. And then now, as of today's patch, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I find a lot of irony in that. My opinion stands from last week. Do I think that the game needs more tweaking to allow more customization? Yes. Do I think Artifacts was the system to do it? No.
Mm-hmm.
So to see it gone, I'm kind of happy about that because, yes, we're in alpha. Okay, fine. We're going to throw the little threshold out there. That should already be a given. There's still that, you still have everybody clumped together with people who have full artifacts and people who don't. So it's very clear to see the differences, and all it does is just bump you up a level. Like, once you have all the artifacts, you're still in the same playing field, and there's not really a whole lot of diversity going on. And I already, just picking out my artifacts for Uther, just to start, before I went to anybody else I was doing Uther, it already felt cookie cutter to me. So, but that's just me. That's my opinion. So I'll leave that there.
Yeah, and I think that was depending on the hero you were playing. I think Uther, like the ability power / healing one, was almost like a no-brainer. For me, when I was playing Tyrael, I did play a lot of kind of damage-focused Tyrael because he was actually close to assassin level, not quite there, but definitely there. Or you could just go straight defensive with him, and that really worked as well. So I like that. You could kind of almost affect the the base stats before you even go into the map. Bullet, we didn't really hear from you obviously last week about it. Where did you kind of stand? Do you think they didn't give it enough time to really
I'm
play
actually
out?
despite not being hardcore ranked, I am completely with Ben. I did not think it was the right way. Just coming from someone who doesn't play this often, if I'm going to group with you guys, which you guys are much higher level than me when it comes to player level, if I come in and I don't have a maxed out artifact like the people I would probably be playing against with you guys, I'm going to get creamed so fast it's not even worth me playing because I'm going to be bored because I'm respawning every minute. It's not fun for someone who isn't on equal playing ground if you're going to be put in a situation like that. I agree there needs to be something, but that was nowhere near the right system to do. And they are saying that they're still trying to find a better system. They just don't know what or when it'll be put in next.
Man, so the biggest thing that kind of we were talking about this past, not we, but like I was having a conversation with somebody about was that they think that it's a big bridge to entry into the genre when new players kind of come in and they don't have the artifacts and they're going against people that do have the artifacts. Josh, do you think that was an actual issue with it, or do you think that it was just kind of like everyone else is saying, it doesn't give you the customization that you need, it's almost pointless type of a thing?
Well, I felt like it gave you customization because you can kind of, like with Arthas, I want to heavy tank build, but I mean, I didn't have to. But having it in there, I could tell it was kind of overpowering compared to people who didn't have it. So, I like the direction they are going, but I'm kind of glad that it's out at the moment. I hope they bring something similar to it, but not to where it overpowers your character. Because I still want it. I want it to be fair to people, but I like the idea of veteran players having a little bit of an upper hand because they've been playing longer.
Yeah,
but that's just me.
So this was kind of the point that I was making, is it really depends more on the matchmaking system, whether or not you're going to be going up against people with way better artifacts than you, or whatever the new system is that they decide to go with. So, like, for example, say, Ben, you're a really good player, and you have very little in terms of artifacts because you just started playing. And I'm going to sound like I'm picking on Josh, but Josh, you're an okay player, but you've unlocked all your artifacts. The skill artifact kind of mesh is going to be where your MMR stands, and you're going to end up going up against somebody who is of that same caliber of you, whether it's through them having more artifacts or them having a better just kind of skill. And you're not going to be going against, a new player's not going to be going against, somebody who is really, really skillful and has all their artifacts fully unlocked. So that was the kind of my point, and I think it's a valid point because, well, I made it, and I like to think I make valid points. But
it is, but it's matchmaking. Even in League of Legends, every now and then you get paired up against someone either higher or lower than you, and that does change the game completely if you're playing against someone who's at a lower level or a higher level, because you won't be able to keep up, especially if they have something like that gives them the extra edge that you don't have access to or haven't had time to get yet.
But playing people who are either better than you or maybe they have an edge because they have artifacts, isn't that how you get to be a better player? Is by
how can you be a better player if they can just almost one shot you so you don't have the chance?
Right, but we're not talking being able to one shot because of like a couple, like an like 2 or 3 ranks in an artifact. You're talking, they're gonna be able to kill you a little quicker. Maybe you go at it a different way.
I understand what you're saying. It's not a bad point. It's just the way it just I agree. It just wasn't implemented the right way. It just was. Tanks were way too hard to kill for someone who didn't have any artifacts, and assassins could kill you faster if you didn't have the right artifact to counter it. It wasn't the right way put in properly.
And I understand, but I'm saying like the matchmaking system should fix it because, say a rank 1 who has no artifacts and isn't a great player, and a rank 10 who's full of artifacts and is a great player, they're never going to meet or they should never meet in game based on their ranking. Ben, what do you kind of feel about that? Like, is it?
In theory, they're never going to meet, but when a new player starts, as we've seen with a lot of the MMR systems, whether it's StarCraft or it's, WoW arenas, you're always going to go up against those guys, the higher MMR to start. So no matter what happens, at least the way that all the current systems have gone, and it is not just Blizzard specific games; it's other games as well. You're going to face the high MMR teams, and you're going to get your face smashed in for at least a couple of hours, and then you'll get dropped to the bottom of the bucket. And then start to work your way up. Now, personally, I don't feel like it's a better solution because when you get dropped to the bottom of the bucket, you're now sitting with all the bottom feeders that like to troll and do things like type GG after the first team fight that you lose, and you're just dealing with toxic players because we've already seen they're coming over from LOL. So that is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah. There's going to be... And I think another thing people are saying is there's going to be another gold sink somewhere in the game, and we just have to figure out what that's going to be. Because I think a lot of people thought this was, just a gold sink, so that way you have you're like, man, I can buy the heroes with gold, or I could spend my gold on artifacts and buy the heroes with money. So it's a way of Blizzard trying to pick up some more cash out of it, which I can't blame them. They need to make money, otherwise the game doesn't go on. They have to stop development if they're not making enough money to pay the developers at this point. It's not like they're doing it for free. They're doing it to make money and let everybody play the game for free.
Yeah.
And you guys think of any other kind of a gold sink that they could throw in there? I mean, the 10,000 gold for a master skin I think does it pretty well.
That does it really well.
Yeah, I'd say, if you look at like LOL's dump on, even though there's just like money and all like skins, there's, just skins by itself is a huge dump, whether it's gold or real money.
Because they don't stand anything besides just, hey, this is how I look now.
Right. And looking at the skins, I'm like, man, it really, 90% of the time, all they do is they switch to the head and the shoulders and sometimes a costume piece.
Like an umbrella instead of a staff.
Yeah, so it's not much of a difference sometimes.
Yeah.
So they also made a change to the talent unlocks. So the first 3 times you're leveling, so level 2, 3, and 4, now all only require, I believe it was 100,000 XP.
It's minuscule now. I played some today, and in one good game on Sergeant Hammer, who I had a higher level but was back to level 1. She jumped up, or she was at level 2. She went from 2 to 4 in one game, so that makes that talent gap a lot better because starting a new character and not being able to use everything is not fun.
Now, Ben, I think you might have been the biggest hater of the talent gating, as we would call it. With them lowering the XP requirement, does that make it better, or do you just think at this point, why have it at all anyway? Still,
I'm glad you kind of said that. It's 2 things I'm exactly gonna say. Number 1, we're getting there. It's better, but number 2, why have it? Going back to my statement that I always say, don't fix what isn't broken. There's nothing wrong with the original system. To keep it the way it needs to be centered. Granted, you're not going to be competitive and not have that stuff unlocked. However, it may come up. Like an example being, I have just about almost all the champions or heroes unlocked. If we're playing ranked down the future, okay, and we have our team, and let's just hypothetically say we can see the map going in, right, and we get hit with Blackheart's Bay, and they ban 2 of my main heroes. And I want to do something off the wall where I pick a hero that I don't ever play. Well, I'm not going to have all of his options unlocked, so I'm going to be handicapped going into this match. So I don't really see why we need to do it in the first place. I felt like it was an unnecessary change. I'm glad that they lowered it, which made it easier for everybody else, but I still don't feel it's necessary.
In a competitive environment, I would make sure I have all the talents for everybody. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I agree with you though, man.
I'm saying anything can happen to where okay, here's an example. I don't play Raynor, okay? And maybe we go into some type of situation, it's, anything's possible, where my pokes get banned and I have to result on Raynor. And, I don't have his stuff unlocked, then I'm kind of screwed a little bit. Granted, it's my fault for not having it unlocked, but at the
It's their
same
fault for
time,
not giving you the option as a skilled player to be able to use all the talents that you already know how to use.
I know.
thank you. Thank you.
I have to play devil's advocate. I know what Ben's saying. Josh, what are your thoughts on the whole talent thing? We haven't really heard from you on this topic.
You haven't. Once again, I agree with Ben. I don't like the fact that they're locked for the reason that if it does get super competitive in that aspect, okay, I'm going to pick a new hero. Oh, I can't do everything. But, if we're veteran players as it is, just reading their spells and stuff like that, we should be able to pick up on what we can do with them and get an idea of playing against them and all that good stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think they should all just be unlocked as from the start, personally. I like it that way. That way, I'm not afraid to try new heroes. I'm not going to say, well, I'm not going to sure if I'm going to like this hero because I have to unlock all the stuff for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't mind when they had it, what was it, level 4 or whatever, on the player level.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
I understand having new players play a little bit before they get access to a lot of stuff that might confuse them. But
Yeah.
if we're level 25, 30, 40, we've dealt with most of it. Why give a stupid gate for something that we already know how to use all these things anyway?
Well,
We either used it or we've played against it.
I agree, because I personally didn't mind that system either, where your account level was 4 and you unlocked them all or whatever it was. That's fine, because like you said, obviously you just got into the game, so you're learning it still. But if we're like level 30 and we want to try a new character that they added or just a new character we haven't played, we got to start all over with that character, unlocking everything, and it's just a bit of an annoying and hassle. It kind of makes you, to me, it makes me not want to play new characters because I want to unlock stuff for the characters I'm playing, and I don't want to try a new character because I'm not going to have everything.
No, I agree. I'm definitely on your guys' boat at this point. I think last week I was talking about how I didn't think it was a bad thing. It has definitely stopped me from playing Rhaegar as much as I probably should to kind of learn and talk about him later on, just because I'm like, I don't have all the talents, so...
Yeah. I played like 10 games today. I did not see one Rhaegar.
Right, because everyone has to...
Really?
You spend the gold, and then you can't really play him to his full ability, and if you're level 40, you should be able to. I agree.
I have him on completely on like his talents unlocked, but after I unlocked all his talents, I kind of like stopped playing him. I kind of fell out of love with him.
Yeah, I know a couple of people that are still playing them, but not as many as you think. It's always like that first couple days, the new hero really, everyone's playing him, and then it calms down. And I still see him a decent amount though.
Yeah.
And I know this isn't quite with this, but still with this, like the updates from the past week, I've followed the Reddit a lot, and people have actually done the math. The gold earning you actually make now is less than it was before they implemented these new things. So you actually make a little bit less overall, just because you don't make as much with the dailies and everything. So I just thought that's kind of something funny.
Yeah, unless you go on a win
It's a
streak.
little harder to, like, you're not getting the gold quite as fast to unlock these new people.
I don't know, a win streak though. I bet you could like turn those numbers all around because
people were doing all sorts of calculations, and it wasn't like a huge thing. It only added a few more days, but still, a few days can be a lot to casual because that's a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Especially if you're somebody who wants to control everything or have everything. I want to have them all unlocked.
Got to catch them all.
Now, kind of speaking of kind of the patch, before we kind of move into our next segment, any other changes from the patch that we've been able to play with that you guys either like or don't like that you've noticed?
Well, one other thing I've heard is someone did, again, this is from the Reddit, someone did the math, and it takes approximately 101 games to get your character to level 10. So that didn't change at all. It's just everyone who was already maxed got dropped halfway. Got it. So it's just, again, it's Reddit, so it could be off a little bit, but still, it's funny that they did these changes, and it still takes about the same amount of time.
Yeah, the one thing that I did play with a bunch when from the patch was the new talent. I just completely blanked out on the name of it.
Come on, Adam. Come on.
The marksman, the seasoned huntsman or marksman.
There you go.
Oh man, the names are killing me. Where I was testing that out, and Illidan versus the increased damage. and just straight, damage from his dash ability. And I found that without actually doing the math, I would play better with the seasoned marksman or huntsman than the kind of the better damage on dash. And at the end of the game, you're looking at somewhere between 25 and 30 extra attack power compared to doing it the other way. And I think it made a kind of a big difference. I actually enjoyed it. It's not quite last hitting like in League of Legends, because as long you just have to do damage to them close to the end of when they died, and it counts mercenaries, minions, and enemy hero kills. So I actually really like that new talent. Anybody else play with any of the new talents at all, or no?
Not really.
Yeah, you almost kind of forget like what's the new talent when you've been playing with it all week.
Yeah.
So okay, well, I think we're going to go into kind of our from the forum discussion this week. Something I saw kind of people talking about was the power of bruisers right now. They're both tanky and they are able to put out a decent amount of damage. Josh, we'll start with you because I know you play Arthas. I know you said you had an excellent Arthas match this week, and a little bit it was artifacts. But what do you think about the place of warriors or bruisers in the game right now?
I really don't have an issue with them like people seem to be having issues with. Maybe those people just don't know how to counter those kind of classes. But I play Arthas, and I did have a really good match, but it was due to artifacts, I'm pretty sure, because I was able to get away when need to be. But I felt they're fine to me. I don't have any really too much complaints about them. Only person is really Diablo because he gets a lot of health, but that's his class. That's just how his character is. Other than that, I feel they're fine the way they are. That's just me though, unless I missed something and they buffed them recently.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I like how the Warriors are playing right now. I've come to, like I said, they almost like that's my main. In terms of now, Diablo, Tyrael have been my favorites. I feel as though with the artifacts, and if you're doing like you were doing like the health and the health regen, it was really hard to kill them, and which means they could get away and they didn't, really hurt their team at all. Ben, what are your thoughts on kind of the bruisers?
So number one, as I was reading this thread, I was just laughing to myself. I don't know if anybody caught some of these comments going back and forth where some of the guys were like, we can agree to disagree. In my opinion, Warriors are fairly balanced right now. And the other dude's like, you were actually just completely wrong. It's like, okay, you're in such a position to say that, by the way. But I don't feel like there's a huge problem with them. I feel like a couple of them need tweaking, but I don't feel like they're the bane of my existence when playing. They do kind of what they're intended to do. Stitches, he kind of initiates, he can grab, he does a slam, he can pull people away from the fight or pull people back into the fight. Still have mixed feelings on the Barbarian a little bit. Diablo sometimes is a little, crazy with his health, but I mean, that's kind of what these heroes are about. I don't feel like it's overly broken, and as one dude pointed out on the forums, there is counterplay. Take a stun. Now granted, there's the current flaw with the versus system. You can pick your champion that you want, and then you're queued up with a bunch of other people if you're playing alone, and you kind of just have to suck it up and deal with it, which is why when I play solo, I'm always trying to take a hero with a type of CC or heal, which is why I play Uther a lot, because he has heals and stuns. And that way I know, personally, if there's a problem on the map, I can stun that person and allow my team to go in. Just like, I always take Divine Storm on Uther. If we get into like kind of a problematic team fight, and I know somebody's going to drop down some type of AoE ability, I immediately just run right into the middle of the fight and pop Divine Storm. I don't care what's going on. I instantly stun the entire team. Mm-hmm. So that's my take on it.
That's your take on it. No, one of the big things that I saw with Diablo was the increased damage on the income. Like when the Fire Stomp comes back, it deals 150% damage. So if you're able to like overpower them, put them in the middle, and they get hit by everything, it is a lot of damage getting put out by what I would consider a warrior. But you have to, not get caught in that. You have to have things ready to stop that from happening. The other thing I would say is if you have a Diablo, a Stitches, anyone with high health, your marksman needs to take Giant Killer, or your assassin has to take Giant Killer, because when their basic attacks against enemy heroes, they're dealing bonus damage equal to 1.5% of the hero's max health. That's huge. The more health they have, the faster they're gonna go. Well, not faster, but equally go down. So if your assassin isn't taking that, you're going to be at a huge disadvantage at that point. So I think you just got to learn to play around what they're able to do. Bullet, what are your kind of thoughts on the bruisers in the game right now?
One of the first response is someone kind of breaking down a couple of them, like Diablo has high health but lower damage. Tyrael has high utility but kind of lower damage. And then a little bit further down, someone's like, no, you're just wrong. Which I find that funny, but it's like, all the tanks, they each have their one thing where they can move faster or they can have more health. But all of them do have some sort of negative associated, so they're not just, I have lots of health, I can take lots of damage, and I can hit you really hard in the face. So I mean, if you don't know how to play against one or how to play one, yeah, they're going to seem like they're overpowered, but if you have a good Kerrigan, that Diablo is going to go down anyway. If you have a good Rainer, well, there goes Tyrael. It just depends on who you're, like, if you know how to play against them. It's more a player overpoweredness than a character overpoweredness.
I do want to say real quick, the guy that made that post that Bullet's talking about, his name's Nubricon.
Yeah.
Greatest thing ever. Sorry.
Oh, man. No, but, that's the thing. I think you're going to run into that with any hero. If you don't know how to play against them, they're going to beat you. Especially, in a one-on-one situation. If they put you in their, battlefield, I'll call it. If you're playing Illidan and you're letting him, poke you, jump in, dash out, jump in, dash out, he's going to eventually wear you down.
If you don't know what you're doing, Brightwing and Lily can kill you.
Right. So
I've killed people on both of those because I can get them down low enough just to hit them with Envenom, and then they're screwed. So if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get killed by anybody.
Right. So it's like you gotta know more than just the hero you're playing. You actually have to look and see what the other heroes can do, so you can counter and play against them properly. I think that's really what it comes down to, and that's any game. I mean, I'm not a big PvP in any other game, but for this game, I even I know the kind of how important it is to know what else they can do. Any final thoughts on that, Ben?
Not really. I mean, we summed majority of it up pretty well. I feel like it's going to be a topic that's going to be covered for a very long, just because of the way, going back to one of our previous conversations, the way everything is classified right now, where that whole group of melee is just lumped up into the warrior category. I feel like it's going to be something that's going to be going back and forth for a long time. Until maybe we see a more diverse classification system. It might make a little bit more sense then, and people won't be arguing about the dumbest things on the forums regarding this.
Right.
So
I noticed, Bullet, they didn't say anything about ETC being overpowered. How do you feel about that one?
Yeah. I don't think he's overpowered, but whatever.
I know, I'm just kidding. I know you're a big fan of playing ETC at this point.
I have, and I've been playing Lily a little bit this week too, though.
Any final thoughts on the bruisers, Josh?
Yeah. I was going to say, one, I mean, I don't know if it's really thoughts on the bruisers, but the time this guy posted this is when the artifacts were in the game. So, I mean, I'm sure that had a big influence on it, because the artifacts did make a difference. And as everyone else said, learn to counter them. Simple as that. If you feel the class is too powerful, more than likely, either you're not knowing how to play your character, or you just need to learn a new tactic with your character to counter that hero. That's my view on it.
Yeah, for sure. So, we're going to end our show with our battle report. We're hitting the last of the first 4 maps. We'll come to Garden of Terror in the next coming weeks. So this week we're going to be talking about Dragon Shire. Now, Dragon Shire is pretty close to your basic MOBA map, where the only objectives is to take the shrines on the north and south side of the map, and to unleash the Dragon Knight on your enemy. So the basic objective is to destroy the core of your opponent, but make sure you get the help from the Dragon Knight. Kind of Battleground tips. I know for me, kind of overall, I prefer like a 2-1-2. 2 up, 2 down, and 1 in the middle. And it's kind of just like kind of a basic kind of setup. I do like playing a warrior in the middle. A Tyrael in the middle plays really well. But your other, like your Abathurs, maybe your normally quick would be considered a weaker melee or upfront fighters. It's not a bad idea to have them take the Dragon Knight, because then you kind of get a little bit stronger force kind of heading there. Ben, Bullet, Josh, any kind of overall Battleground tips that you have that you find work well?
If you're playing, well, you can go.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say mainly like the 2-1-2 works really well. There's no real big reason to do anything other than if you're trying to be fancy, don't try to go in cocky and fancy with a random pug instead of like a pre-made team, because you're just gonna get stomped. You need extra support on the shrines for the bottom and the top lanes, which is why you're gonna do a 2-1-2 to begin with. Leave your healer out. Don't let your healer become the Dragon Knight, because your healer can heal the Dragon Knight. You always Adam said the weaker champion, but if your weaker champion is a healer, you want to throw somebody else in the mix, just that way you can support the Dragon Knight. But always be willing to support your team in the opposite lanes, because people take that for granted. They're just like, oh, it's fine, it's whatever, they've got it, they can manage, and then all of a sudden it's 3 people in top lane and they get a kill on your teammate, and now it's 3v1 in like top lane, for example, and they're going to take the shrine. So you really got to be very flexible, but at the same time you have to be very guarded, which is why I kind of like I love Sergeant Hammer on this map, but I also love taking people like Uther and Tychus, just because of the flexibility. You can leave one of them in a lane by themselves for like a little bit to guard that shrine while everybody else goes to help one another out.
Mm-hmm. No, but you're going to say you have a kind of a...
Well, I was going to say, if you're going against a team that you can tell is a little bit better put together, it sometimes just getting to where you can keep a hold of one tower or one of the shrines is better than trying to get the Dragon Knight, because if you know that you split up too far and they're going to start owning you, just if you can hold that one tower with 2 people and then have other people keep them at bay, yes, you're not going to get the Dragon Knight, but at the same time, they're not going to get the Dragon Knight either. So you're at least preventing taking that extra damage.
Mm-hmm. And Josh?
With this one, map awareness is key for me. It should be like that in every map in this game, but as you know, players just don't do that. But having key awareness, watching those 2 points, those 2 shrines to take over, definitely need to do that. Keep an eye out, see who has what and where your team is at. If you take South Shrine, stay there. If your team runs off, stay there just to guard it. That way you can delay them from taking it, and you can call it out. That way people can see the chat at least and come down and give you some assistance. Usually whenever I take one, I stay with it, and then the rest of the team goes, or sometimes maybe someone else will stay with it. But I say at least keep one person at it. That way they can delay the enemy team from taking it to get your team down there or up there to defend.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's go with Ben with this one. Ben, do you think when your team gets the Dragon Knight, do you think everyone should go to the middle and push with them, or do you think there's a better way of doing it?
No, I don't think everybody should be in the middle. If you send, it really depends on the matchup. If I am Tychus, all right, I like to play bottom lane a lot. Mm-hmm. If we get the Dragon Knight, I'd say hopefully the healer is smart enough to go with the Dragon Knight. I like to stay in bottom lane because Tychus can drop towers and forts like there's no tomorrow, especially if he takes the attack speed bonus upgrade and he ramps up for 3 seconds and boom, he can just wail down a building like there's no tomorrow. So I like to kind of provide a backdoor option while they're focused on the Dragon Knight in middle. Most of the time they don't even think about me down in the bottom lane. They're like, oh, whatever, he's down there, he's not paying attention to the fight, it doesn't matter. And the next thing you know, you've lost an entire fort. So that's kind of how I like to play it.
Yeah, you kind of split push it. I agree with you too. Keeping one up top one down in the bottom, and if you push 3 in the middle, because they're gonna be sending a decent amount of people after your Dragon Knight. I mean, that almost makes the Dragon Knight kind of like a diversion at this point to your other people being able to push. Now, in terms of team makeup, Josh, if you had to pick 5, not necessarily heroes, but classes, types, what would you pick for this map?
Definitely would want a support for sure. I would probably personally pick Lily or Malfurion. That's just me though. 3 assassins and probably a warrior. That way the assassins can go between and gank when need to be, when they, it's time to check the shrines, or if they're trying to get the Dragon Knight in the middle, you can get the assassin there and start doing heavy damage right away while the rest of the team comes. But that's probably be my key. I know that sounds pretty standard, 3 DPS, 1 tank, and 1 healer, but I mean, it seems to work well on this map for me.
You've been playing a lot of WoW, we can tell.
but it worked, I mean, because you have the extra DPS there, it helps in a sense to take the enemy team down faster. And Dragon Knight, if they get it.
Bullet, do you agree with him? Would you change the makeup a little bit?
It depends on which strategy you're going. If you're going to go with just a plain strategy like that, yes. To go with Ben's strategy more, where you have somebody pushing the bottom or something, I'd actually almost go 2 tanks, 1 top and bottom, and then 1 of each of the other 3, so you'd still have the support to heal the Dragon Knight. But while everyone else goes to the middle or even top to push the lane, you can have the specialists get all the ogres on the bottom and push the bottom lane with all the ogres. Because you can take out that bottom lane with 1 or 2 sets of ogres flat out while they're trying to take down the Dragon Knight if he runs all the way to the top.
And Ben, same question for you.
So for this, I would take 1 support, 1 specialist, 2 assassins, 1 warrior. The warrior needs to be really beefy, kind of like Diablo maybe, or Stitches would work. The specialist needs to be an independent specialist, such as Witch Doctor or Sergeant Hammer. Support can either be like somebody who's very also independent. We all know that I love Uther, so I'm always going to pick Uther myself. Malfurion's not a bad choice. The only problem is he can't really heal himself. And then your 2 assassins, you need to have flexibility on the team, so it really depends on who the support is. If the support is melee or ranged, you need to have at least 1 ranged assassin and maybe 1 melee assassin, but if you're melee heavy, you need to take another ranged assassin. And then at that point, it doesn't matter as much who's in the top or the bottom lane, as long as they're independent and they can survive on their own or get out of a situation. I could do it as Tychus or Uther, and the reason why I can do it as Uther is because if somebody comes at me, I can instantly stun them and then heal myself as I go away. So,
yep. I think mine's similar to yours, because I would go with the 1 warrior, middle, beefy, but I kind of like having 1 specialist, 1 assassin, and 2 supports. Just because you get that, like an assassin support top and an assassin specialist bottom. So then, like Bullet said, the specialist can be like on siege, siege giant duty and really push that way. But it depends on who you're playing with. Depends on what supports you're taking. Because if you take a support like Rhaegar instead of the assassin, that can make up for that DPS loss because you can have Bloodlust in there, and then you kind of heal and support the person in the lane. So there's a lot of different ways of doing it. I'm interested to once we get some more custom maps out there, and not custom maps, custom games getting made, seeing what people kind of build and what ends up being the norm for each of these maps, because they will be different, which is pretty cool. So we're going to each take our 2 heroes and kind of say what we do with them. So we're going to start with Ben, because we already know what 2 he's going to talk about. Let's say Tychus. What talents do you like with Tychus? What do you do different on this map with Tychus than say your other maps?
So I'm going to talk about Tychus, but I'm also going to throw you a curveball after everybody else is done. So Tychus, I've been a fan of the laser drill a lot lately. You guys have heard me talk about it on previous episodes. My build mainly stays the same. I'm taking the extra damage on my Q, the slowdown, the ramp up time on my my passive auto attack, and then I'm also taking the extra frag grenade increase radius. And I'm mainly playing guard duty on the bottom shrine. As Tygus, it allows me to be very flexible with that because I can dash in and out of the bushes. I can, if I know somebody's in the bush, I can throw a grenade, knock them out of the bush, and then I dash into the bush to take their place. And then as soon as they come up to the bush, I just hit my Q and I slow them down, and then I start to kite them right out of the bush and into my own turrets. Hopefully, somebody's there with me with a stun. I prefer somebody who has a stun, so that way, as I kite them out of the bush, we can stun them on top of the turret, and the turret starts to attack them, and they're pretty much almost dead at that point. Another reason why I like the bottom lane too is because as we start to fight over the shrine, if it becomes a point where we're about to lose it, I'll drop the laser drill outside of the shrine, and it still has the range to shoot through the wall, and it'll keep them off the shrine long enough for us to either get more health or get some type of support going back and forth. And then once they're kind of gone and out of our way, whether we killed them or we made them return to base or something, I immediately just run right up to the wall and start knocking down the towers.
See, one of the people I haven't played him much lately, but for the Dragon Shire, I think Gazlo works really well as kind of the specialist choice. The reason for this is you can really drop his turrets right around the shrine, and it's really zone out the enemy really well. If they're going to go get that shrine, they're going to take damage coming in, they're going to take damage going out, and you don't have to be anywhere near danger. So you can still actually collect XP from minions as this is going on. And, with his death laser, you're able to, it has the range on. You can actually go through kind of the bushes up top of it, because I play him on the bottom, and, hit them because they're there because your turrets are there watching them. And on top of that, like we've said before, specialists taking out those siege giants over there. It's not as easy as it used to be. Used to be able to do it around level 4. But, he can still take him out pretty well, especially if he has help from whoever's with the bottom lane with him. I think me and Ben have played a couple Tychus, Gazlo bottom lanes before, which worked really well. Bullet, ETC tips.
Again, I'm one of the ETCs that actually plays a lot with stage dive. And in this map, if there's a big team fight going on and you just happen to get control of the top and bottom, you can jump straight to the middle, take the dragon if you need, or you can jump to one of the other two to stop them from getting it. It's my quick way of preventing or getting the Dragon Knight faster, because sometimes you need to get to the other side of the map as quick as possible and you don't have Felstead. So that's my... Again, I know a lot of ETCs like the stun, which is nice. I just like the very big mobility of stage dive, even without the damage aspect, where you can move around the map as needed very quickly.
Yeah, mobility key in this map, because
this is one of the bigger maps.
Yeah, and if you can take a shrine late game and your ally takes the top shrine while 3 people are pushing, you can move to the center and actually get that taken care of and grab the Dragon Knight before anybody else can even contest it. So I agree, mobility super strong, especially with the stage dive. I love stage dive. I think it's pretty awesome. It's
my favorite move, really.
Yes. Josh, what are your tips for Lich King?
For Lich King?
Yes.
I always take the help with basically crowd control and buff your health, so you can get in there and stop them with the Howling Blast. That way, if they're running towards something, you can stop them. You can even use it if you're trying to get the dragon, and say there's an enemy coming, you see him, stop him in his tracks, click on it real quick, and hopefully he doesn't get to you before it's time for you to summon the dragon, be the dragon. And then I usually use Sagara, or Centagosa, sorry. I usually use her as the ultimate, just because if they happen to take the towers, or take the dragon, or even when we take the dragon, it can help freeze the enemies in place and cause decent amount of damage now since it's buffed up. And then I also take his AoE. The name is skipping me. You know what I'm talking about, the AoE that does damage around him until you cancel it. I cannot remember what it's called right now. But I take that because when you're in close combat with team fights, it helps. Cause an AoE to the enemy team, or even the minions, or both, to weaken them down. I like to use him as kind of like a crowd control tank.
Okay. Bullet, Lily tips.
Don't die.
It's the best thing ever.
She's she's one of the better healers because she can heal herself pretty good. I've noticed. I mean, all the healers, if played right, are good. She's just one of the ones I found to be easier to learn because I've tried a few others and I've picked her up quickest. Uh, for her, especially on this map, her healing is going to be almost priority, especially the 1,000 keg one. I'm forgetting its exact name. But just being close to the Dragon Knight and popping that, you're healing him and anyone else who might be close who needs extra life. And if you can buff up the special heal where you can either heal 2 people with 1 or do more healing, that helps quite a bit. Because especially with the 2-for-1, you can heal both yourself and the Dragon Knight if they're attacking both of you. So that also gives you that added little bit. So once you're hitting your life low, you run faster so you can get out. The Dragon Knight can live longer, plus they have their own health bar afterwards if you're about to die. But she's just really good at being able to multi-heal really quick, plus you can throw your Dragon out to get a little extra DPS on somebody while you're healing as well.
Mm-hmm. You know, for Tyrael, who, like I said, he's one of my regulars, playing in the mid lane, use the bushes on the south part of the mid lane to your advantage. You know, hide in them and throw out your Eldruin as much as possible. Now that you only have to throw it out to deal damage, you don't have to worry about, you know, darting in and to deal the extra damage. But if you dart in, hit them, your enemies with the smite right away, you know, make it, you know, in and out and then back up. It really works well in terms of kind of harassing the person trying to take a Dragon Knight, you know, after their team, you know, the enemy has both shrines, because you can throw Eldruin, that'll stop them. Then you can drop down Smite to stop them. Then you can pretty much throw Eldruin again. So if you get very good harass in terms of stopping them from, you know, becoming the Dragon Knight. Now, for the last one, both Josh and Ben both have Zagara down. So,
do we really?
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start it with Josh, and then Ben, you can kind of butt in and tell your tips as well.
Jeez, Ben, you had 3 on there, and then you changed it to 2.
I didn't see that you had Zagara, so like I was like, I have a good idea for something else. But
well, I mean,
sorry.
hopefully it's different play styles so people can have an option with her, because she is kind of has that ability to have different options to play with her in this map. She can use her Nidus Worms to jump around the map if you want to do that. I like using that one mainly as her ultimate is Nidus Network, so she can jump from the top of the map to the bottom of the map to the middle of the map or back to your base super fast. But I also like to use, when I spec her leveling up, I always go with like her attacks having extra roaches with the drop pod. Get that extra Hydralisk in there and all that good stuff. That way you have a bunch of different creatures coming out and attacking, and you can pop all over around the board using that and dropping your Zerg wherever you go. Basically, that's how I play her on the map. And sometimes I take the what's the ultimate that grabs? I forget, the Maw.
The Maw, yep.
Yeah. I've used that a couple times on this map, and it's helped me capture the dragon, because Nova was attacking me, and I used it on Nova, and it gives you just the enough time to be able to capture that too. So if you want to do that as your play style, just more of a crowd control, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Ben, take the mic away with your Zagara tips.
So Adam was talking about how he likes to put a melee mid, and I actually picked Zagara on the fly while he was talking about that to counter that. Again, this is entirely dependent on your team, but I have seen a really good Zagara basically hold the team up when her team couldn't capture the shrines. Her creep spread, keeping her vision around the entire dragon, is so monumental. And the ability to kind of poke and keep people off of the shrine. It doesn't matter if the enemy team has both the sun and the moon shrine captured. If she can keep them off the dragon, it's that it is what it is. And while you do that, you have such a strong ability to push down the enemy wall and towers with the banelings. I personally think that having a ranged poke, and her being like a ranged poke specialist, makes it even better. Is really good for a situation like that. Melees they do fit in, but I feel like if you can't get on top of Zagara, then basically you're going to lose the lane battle.
Mm-hmm. No, I like that. I didn't even think of that myself. Amazing. No, I'm just kidding.
That's why I'm here.
Any kind of final thoughts on Dragon Shire before we finish this off?
I'm actually really surprised that I thought when I first got into the alpha that was going to be my least favorite map, and it's actually climbed in the ranks, and I actually like it a lot better than Haunted Mines, and it's I still prefer Cursed Hollow overall, but Dragon Shire is definitely getting up there. Definitely like it because I like the King of the Hill playstyle and how you have to contest and you truly have to fight over the shrines. If the teams are evenly matched, you to sit back if you could watch your replay and like have like commentators going on it. It's a lot of fun and it's very entertaining because there's much more contention there than there would be like on another map.
Oh, I agree. It's definitely it's one of my favorite ones now. Cursed Hollow still kind of in the same spot for me, kind of towards the end. But Dragon Shire definitely and was it compared to Haunted Mines and definitely I don't know. I'm like rambling now. Anyways, any final thoughts before we end the show?
My only complaint about Dragon Shire is that I get it all the time. I don't get many other maps besides Dragon Shire. So that's my only complaint, that I get it way too often.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Josh, we're going to go ahead and end the show. Why don't you let everyone know where they can reach you, what other podcasts you've been up to, stuff like that.
Well, you can reach me on Twitter at Packawan_AIE. It's spelled PAKKUAN_AIE. I'm on a World of Warcraft podcast as well called Last Stand Radio, and you can check us out at laststandradio.com. We usually record Saturday nights, goes up probably Sunday morning. So check that out if you're into World of Warcraft. Other than that, that's really the only place you can find me besides here. Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at twitch.tv/Heroes of the Nexus.
Mm-hmm. And Ben, where can people find you?
As per normal, you can find me on Twitter at Stacks and Packs. It's STAKSNPAKS. Same as per normal, if you ever want to like play Heroes or hit me up, just hit me up on there, and you can get my battle tag, and we can do whatever. I'll mostly be in Heroes and trying to get a WoW guild started up for PvP before Warlords. And hopefully, when this guild system gets rolling out, you'll see a little bit more from me and Adam as far as doing some stuff and flexing some muscles and being super swaglicious
and getting some streaming going.
Yeah, we'll be streaming Heroes too at some point. I need to get off and do that because ZP's TV is hogging all that right now, but that's pretty much it on my end.
Mm-hmm. And Bullet, where can people get a hold of you?
Easiest way is on Twitter at BulletCatcher02. Same as Ben, if you want to hit me up in that or any other Blizzard game, really, just you can message me there. I'm usually open to play most evenings. The only exception would be tomorrow because my wife is throwing me a birthday party 2 weeks after my birthday. But hey, drinking is drinking, right?
It's a surprise party, right?
Touché.
If it's a surprise, I shouldn't know about it.
I know. You wouldn't expect it 2 weeks later. No,
it's just because my store is inventory, so it's hard to get time off beforehand.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. For
Retail
me,
sucks.
For me, you can reach me at Geek of Random on Twitter, or you can follow the show directly at the Nexus Podcast. Please, if you have any questions you'd like us to answer on the show, email us at show@heroesofthenexus.com. And for those of you who are listening either through iTunes, Stitcher, or the Windows Marketplace, like Josh said, come to twitch.tv/Heroes of the Nexus every Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. And we'll kind of talk with you. We'll interact in the chat a little bit. It'll be a great time. Anyone that wants to help out the show, we do have a Patreon at patreon.com/thenexus. We're members of Catalyst Gaming Media, where you can find other blogs, podcasts, video content creators like Wow Mardian. It's a great time. So go ahead and check out catalystgamingmedia.com for more information on that. And actually even World of Podcasts, which is coming up with BlizzCon. So check that out as well. I want to thank everybody for coming to the live show, everyone for listening. We do appreciate every week you guys come in and listening. So have a great night, great weekend, and we will see you guys inside the Nexus. Goodbye.
Pray for Cho'Gall before we go to BlizzCon, everybody.
No, not Dragon Shire again.
Later, guys.
Okay, and you can stop the recording. Okay. My wife just killed a Nubricon in Hearthstone.
Nice.
Yep.
I just bought the other 4 wings today, and I haven't really tried outside of a couple times on the first boss.
The last boss has
second wing.
75 health.
Is that a normal or on?
Normal.
I
But
haven't-
he drops
yeah.
a card that only has that's a 0/1, and when you kill it, your minions get +8. All your minions get +8 attack
So that's something you
on
kill
top
yourself.
of what they already are. So it's if that card goes out fast and you kind of have a full board, you kill that card, all your minions are going to get +8 added to their attack already. So you got to strategize if that card comes on board.
So, look, I was just reading the chat real quick. Yeah, thank you guys for being active in the chat room. Yeah, we like active chat roomers. Ben,
Yes.
what
What's up?
are we guys? I'm sorry, my wife was just talking to me. Are you guys able to play tonight or?
I can't because I have to work at 7 tomorrow. Just because I don't feel like waking up at 7 o'clock on Sunday after drinking. Well, wait, 5 o'clock really, but
Maybe
yeah.
you shouldn't drink.
Ben, someone's
I
trying to
don't.
replace you.
Yeah, I actually know who that is. He's blood.
He's blood.
Thinks he's got
Blood.
skills.
Oh man, is that like your alter ego maybe?
No, not even close.
You're like not even close. You've seen the. Is that why you were in the sunglasses today?
No, my eyes, like, I don't know what is the brightness of the screen tonight. My eyes are really bothered by it.
Okay, well we're gonna take down the stream. Thanks again for coming. I have a few things and I'm gonna be in game, so I'll talk to you guys later.
See you, chatty room.